The following production is intended for entertainment purposes only. We are not legal professionals. We do not speak for any government agency, and the opinions expressed here are our own. Relax.
Go ahead.
We've talked before about the runner's high,
Yeah.
and like when I have achieved it or felt it, and like the perspective for me was just like an out of body, like I'm now talking about the guy running. I'm not the guy running.
Yeah, you're detached.
And we've talked about feeling that from a spiritual sense, from a spiritual perspective. And I guess the whole point, the whole question that I'm asking is, we would say that the average religious person would say that the religious version is true. The other versions are stand-ins, or like maybe like a bad knockoff, or a
I would
well,
even hear they're trying to emulate God, or they're trying to reproduce it because they know they're not God. You know what I mean?
well, and so like maybe for some things you would say that it's demon or it's Satan like
Yeah.
pretending to be God.
It's the
Like
deceiver.
I can imagine somebody
Drugs,
say that with drugs. But yeah,
yoga.
but yeah. So
I
the
heard that about
question is,
martial arts.
like, can you? I guess maybe I'm just realizing that it's kind of all the same, and maybe you should just find it, whatever
There's
it
that
is
that
for
message
you.
is definitely there from the universe. Like you could definitely take that message from the universe. And looking at this, it's like the universe is laying this out to you. But other people could hear that in a different way. And the universe could say that to, but I think right now God is telling us that it's all a lot more connected than it seems.
Yeah,
Just by this conversation and observation.
Fraser, what do you think about that?
I like the idea of things being a lot more connected than we think.
Right? Like the wise men. I mean, it's we're in the Christmas season. The wise men were not Jews. They weren't by, if you take the ancient text in the ancient setting that it was written in, they by necessity weren't followers of the God of Israel because they weren't from Israel. Uh, gods were regional. They especially 2000 years ago, but in the world that they knew of, these people weren't Israeli. They didn't follow the God of Israel. They actually followed stars, right? They followed astrology. They followed a star to what the word they used? The new king of the Jews is born,
Something
but
like that.
something like that. To recognize this royal person that had been born, they followed the stars. So in our religious text, we recognize people that didn't worship our God, weren't from the region that our God was worshipped in, but coming to acknowledge, the Bible doesn't, coming to
Yeah,
acknowledge Jesus.
yeah, but isn't I mean that's such a that we still do this where something is kind of close, like it kind of is, like supports our position, so we're like, that's ours. This is now our religion. Like it, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we've got people that they followed stars, they believed in astrology, they whatever, they weren't Jewish, whatever, but they're kind of help us, so we're gonna claim them.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and maybe I don't know if you guys did this when
The
you were,
tendency is to claim it as ours, to even sanctify them, to be like, actually,
yeah.
God was
So
working with them.
so like, I don't know if you guys did this, but whenever like an athlete would pray or do something that's just a little bit more like John 3:16, an actual Bible verse written out, or they would say, they're thanking God if they said my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, or my personal Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Whatever they did to make them like, ooh, that's a Christian. They're one of us.
Okay. He's on our
Did
team.
did you ever do that? Like I as a kid, and
Oh, yeah.
even recently,
Except
people
for
do it.
Tebow. I never accepted Tebow. Tebow.
I thought you were saying T-Bone, the
Oh, no.
redeemed hoodlum. I loved that guy. Um, he had the first Christian gangster rap music I'd ever heard. T-Bone, you got to check him out. The
I
life,
remember T-Bone.
oh, do you? The life of
Yeah,
the hoodlum.
he was like the Christian Ice-T.
Yeah,
He was almost like a
yeah.
Christian iced tea. Yeah.
And he had samples of like oh man, I don't even know who some of the hot bands were back then. Uh, but yeah, he would probably had iced tea in some of his songs.
Yeah.
Anyway, uh,
What did you guys get for Christmas? Did you guys have a favorite Christmas present?
oh, were we done?
Oh, I don't know. It seemed like we were.
We were. I feel like we were on a pretty good topic there.
I think
But
so.
and
One of
maybe
the
it ran its course.
Well, I was going to say one good message to get from that is I think it's God saying instead of the tendency is for us down here to be like, oh, that's he's on my team. Oh, that's one of mine. But I think the message is like Jesus saying, "Are you guys idiots? I've been here the whole time." Is him saying like, "No, this is all part of it. I want to be in your life. When I say I'm in your heart, that means I'm in your life." So like, yeah, God is your diet. And even right now it's like Jesus saying, "You idiots, why aren't you listening to this? I am in your depression, and I am in how you deal with that, and I am in your relationship with other ones. I'm in how you work. I'm in how you drive. I'm in what you say at red lights. I'm in, like I say, your diet. I'm in your breathing exercises or your meditation or lack thereof, your lack of introspection. I'm in the drugs that could bring you closer to this if you use it in this right way, or there's a way to abuse it, just like calories, just like sugar. Like this can save your life, or it can kill you, just like oxygen, just like B12. This can save your life or it can kill you. I'm in all of that. I being God. I'm in all of that. I'm in these conversations that like you idiots, this is what I'm saying. I'm in it all.
Dude, I think that's it. I literally I think I think that's it. That's
Fraser, what you
So
think?
how would you decide what's right for you? Like if
Yeah.
this is common or universal and it's everywhere, which I think makes a lot of sense. What why is there a need for multiple denominations?
Well, you don't need it. They do.
Why?
Oh, well,
Why even have it at all?
that's not even a question for you to have. That's not even a question. Like, you ain't got to worry about them. Your own, the way you connect with God, so the way you actually feel that connection versus just people telling you that you're supposed to get it from the 316, but the way that you actually feel it is to start incorporating God in everything. And if you don't have a breathing exercise, brother, look up Wim Hof YouTube videos. If you don't have a way to incorporate God into your diet, read the Old Testament or make it your own. Pray, like, bring God into everything versus just the Sunday school. And I say that and it sounds a lot easier, like I'm just giving it lip service. It sounds easier to say than it is to do, but you have to actually bring God into everything, which is what Socrates would say also, I think.
that also sounds like something Ram Dass would say.
Ram Dass does say that.
Yeah. And I think that that's another really good example of how it's all the same, like we're all saying the same thing because
Fraser's not
church,
convinced. I'm seeing his face.
Not,
the
yeah,
first
I'm very
community church
skeptical.
down the street would tell you the same thing. Like God doesn't want to be part of your life. He wants to be all of your life.
Right.
But that's what Wim Hof is talking about with the breathing, and that's what Ram Dass is talking about with the aspects of your life and all dissolving into one. But why are you skeptical?
I think, well, maybe I don't know if skeptical is the right word, but if I'm doing a breathing exercise or trying to make healthy eating habits,
Yep. Yep.
I am not wired to think that, oh, God is in this, or there is a God that is in this. I'm just thinking, oh, I just want to eat better.
So
And
then
like,
what you need to do, this is where the church is redeemed because the secret to this is the ritual. What you need to do is to either find a real ritual that or make a ritual your own, or it's probably going to have to be a combination of that. Like find some sort of ritual for breathing every morning. Be like, "Okay, I'm going to say the Lord's Prayer and then I'm going to hit play on this YouTube video and this is something I do I know if you have a set schedule, this is something I do at 5 o'clock every morning, or it's something I do in the first hour I wake up. I say the Lord's Prayer and I hit play on this 5 minute breathing exercise. This is my ritual. You have to make it like going to Sunday school or like taking communion. You have to put the importance and the ritual on it to put God on it. If there's not God's face, if you're not inclined to see God's face in it, you have to put God's face on it.
But I guess my question is, where does my motivation come from to put God's face in it instead
Oh,
of just saying, I'm just doing a morning breathing routine?
yeah, then I would say it's on you. If you want, this is only for people that want, like obviously not everyone is going to be into this at all, even a little bit, but it's only for people who want, if you want to see God, if you want to feel connection with the divine, whatever that means, then this is a way to do that.
Yeah, and I'm not rejecting that, but I think I really like the idea of this idea of this being like connected in everything, and I think that there's a peace in feeling like there's something that I'm never going to be able to fully understand or comprehend that's everywhere or connected. And I don't know that I carry that motivation to like acknowledge that in the things that I do day to day. And maybe I'm missing that personal connection to it, but maybe I find some level of peace of feeling like somebody or something has this all figured out. This is connected in
Yeah.
a way that I'm insignificant. Um,
Well, maybe that's a healthy in some ways to see that you're insignificant, like you're just a small piece in the thing. But I think a message in all of this, like there's lots of messages, but one of the messages is, and I say this, and there's lots of the contradictions are flooding into what I'm about to say, but you are the star of this show, also. Like at least from the way that you see it, you are the center of the universe because God is only talking to you right now, and He's only giving you the answers right now. He's also talking to me, but He's talking to me only the way that I can hear him, and he's not talking to me only the way that my eyes can see, and only the way my eyes can hear. You are the star of your show. Also, you're the star. You're the center of the universe, because the only everything else is just your imagination. Like the way that people look at you, the way that you interact, even with your kids and your wife, the way, like the deepest parts, the way that you interact with yourself is really just your idea of that. Everything else, or the only thing that's left, is God with you. Everything else is just your imagination, is what the
Well,
Buddhists would say.
every experience isn't every experience just a chemical hitting a certain part of your brain?
Yeah.
I mean,
what
and so your experience, if we all three went to the same concert and you didn't want to be there, so your experience sucked
Right.
because you don't like good music, and Frasier was like, Frasier had a great time, and I was
He
whatever.
loves ska. So you guys are at the ska concert.
Me, me and Frasier are.
The horns are hitting.
I was so excited
People are doing this.
when I found somebody listening to the same music as me. But anyway, like it's all a
Lots of
different.
drop kicks.
It's all a different. We all experience it differently, but it's
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like me personally, I don't feel this personal connection, or I've never found that. Like when people say like, well, that's maybe that's God talking to you. I've never had that feeling, I guess.
Good
Like
news.
huh?
I said good news. There are ways. So you've only, oh man, there's lots of ways to take this too. You've only been using one tool, the tool that they've given you to say whatever you've been doing that hasn't worked is the only thing that you've been doing. That's just a matter of fact. There
Sure.
are other ways. Uh, if you want, I guess the first question is, do you feel a need to be connected with God?
That's what I'm getting at. Is like I think I don't know, let's say over the past year I've started asking those questions, really stripping it back. Like, why do I need that? Why should I seek that? Why should I feel that? Why do I need to do something extra? And really wrestling with those questions.
There's not a answer to that, because Buddhists would say, and I think even the deeper layers of all religion would say, that eventually you don't need to. Eventually you don't need to exist even. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Eventually you don't, because everything else isn't really you. The only thing that is you doesn't feel the need to exist.
Say that again.
That's way too far out there. That's the empty
No, I
cup.
like this where this is going. This is
That's the
Yeah.
empty cup of Buddhism. So the empty cup of Buddhism is to eventually there is no more Clayton. So if I peel back all the layers of Clayton, and we've done this before, but I'm just gonna run through it. Am I this body? No, I know that because I can cut my hand off and I'll still be me. I can, if I could live with just a head, I could do that, I guess. I don't need my
That dude
eyes.
from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he had the
Yeah.
head like in the
Just the brain in the glass jar
yeah,
in the
like
tummy.
in
Yeah.
yeah.
So I know my body is not me. Are my thoughts me? We might have just skipped a couple steps. But are my thoughts me? No, they're not, because they came from other people. Like psychology, criminal justice. If you get a degree in criminal justice, you'll learn about this a little bit with sociology. But like your thinking patterns, like how comes from a lot of different ways. Mainly, a lot of it comes from genetics. It comes from your diet and environment, but the lion's share comes from it called mirroring theory, or there's a couple other names for it, but it's how you see. I'm talking about like as a baby, but in the crib, how you see the grown-ups communicating and solving problems, how there's a stimulus and how they react to it. That shapes your brain on how you are going to react to the world around you based on how you observe what happens when the lights go off. What happens when, oh, this big person is mad. That must mean something bad. And like your whole identity is routed off how you see the world from when you're a baby. What I'm getting at
So
is that's not you. That's the world imprinting itself onto you. What were you going to say?
well, okay. I would accept that. I was gonna say another I think really important distinction is that it can't be you because you are having those thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that, well, it could still be you just because you're influenced by your environment and circumstances, things like that. That doesn't necessarily mean it's not you.
So,
But I like the idea though of an imprint. Like if you've got a ball of Play-Doh
yeah.
and a ring that has a print on it, the things can have their make their mark,
Yeah.
and you're still you.
Yeah.
So I take back
But now
whatever
you just have a new mark on you.
yeah.
Your brain
Which
is being shaped.
which I think, like, if you imagine a soul being created, existing, whatever, as like this perfect little orb, and
Yeah.
every experience that it has, every thought that it has is bumping up against little other orbs,
Yeah.
and it shapes it. Every little bump, literally,
Yeah.
like at a stoplight, whatever this person does, that I'll never talk to them in my life. Well, that's a little bump, and that influences just the way that they waved and said, no problem,
Yeah.
go ahead. Like it's just everything influences us until at some point we become who we are.
And it does make you your own unique little snowflake self. Like all of this stuff does add up to make Frasier. Like it does add up to make you exactly your own unique thing. Like the thoughts you're having in your head and even how you process these thoughts, it's all impacted by the lady at the stoplight from the time you're you know 0 to now, all your interactions with the world from 0 to now, your genetics. So, like, this gets into epigenetics, how your ancestors processed fear, how they processed food, how they process survival, how they process the afterlife. Like, all those fears is in you too. You have all these things that make you your own unique little self. What I think a view that I like, and that I like to stay in this view, and what the Buddhists would say is that none of that is actually you. Like you can remove all of that through periods of time and even through different layers. Like you're not your thoughts. You're not your body. You're not your food. You're right. Even though that is part of you, you're not the air, even though that is part of you. Man, and there's some cool stuff that you can go from here too. But like maybe you are all of those things and you are the universe. But if you were to remove all of these external, things, what is left of you? This isn't the final step, but the Buddhist would say along that line, a very important step to get to is the observer. And the observer would be, I like to describe the observer of not the guy who's looking through the windows, like not the guy who's in the control seat back here in my brain, not the guy who's making the decisions, not the guy who gets pissed off at red lights, not the guy who, does whatever, even does all the good things. Not him, but the guy who's like looking over his shoulder in the back seat. The guy who's like behind that guy in the control room, that's the observer. That's
Okay.
that's getting closer to who you actually are. And it's none of those decision-making processes. It's not your ideas about God. It's not your ideas about your family, because all of that comes from other people or comes from other things. It's not really you. So eventually you get to the observer, but even that is feels the need to be something. The observer still is, all right? The observer still exists. There and so if you follow the train of thought that got us to the observer, you have to say, well, then there's something that doesn't feel the need to exist, because the need to exist is called attachment. And your attachment is what got you to the guy who's looking at the phone making these processes, the person who you're tricked into thinking is yourself, right? This sinful fleshly world. The truth is that you're God and that you're connected with God. But that's what all thing good is. So like the only thing more pure than the observer would have to be whatever doesn't feel the need to exist. And the only thing Buddhists would call that the empty cup. And you get to the state, it's nirvana. It's the flow. It's heaven. It's all things good, which means nothing me. By necessity, if it's 100% good, and that's not putting myself down, that's just peeling away the layers of the onion. That's not a self-hatred thing. That's not a
Hmm.
that's not a sinful nature thing. That's just peeling back the layers of the onion. When I get to removing all things except for me, I'm left with the observer. Well, man, if I can get to whatever is purer than that, it's without me. But the secret is,
So
is, is I'm part of that. I'm just removing this shell of identity. I'm part of all things good. And I'm part of all things, period. And so really, I'm nothing.
okay,
I'm the
so
empty cup.
so I think the answer to the problem that we talked about kind of at the very beginning, the concept of the person who earns their fortune versus the person who wins their fortune
Right.
lottery. The
Right.
difference really is that one person is likely going to keep it because they worked for it, they understand how it works,
Mm.
they earned it. The other person is likely to lose it or use it recklessly because they just got it.
You just hit a
Okay.
big nail.
So really the concern, or not, the issue would be which of these methods is going to help you when something's not available, right? You can't do it, or which is more consistent, which is more reliable. It's probably going to be the one that's earned.
But you need both, right? Because you need different tools.
Di-
Like I need a
Different tools for different
multi-tool.
jobs.
Yeah, I need a multi-tool and I need an emergency toolkit in my truck. And
But
that
but here's what I'm trying to get at. They're still in a day-to-day life. Like I can recognize I am not what I do, and I observe what I do.
yeah.
But there's still a sense of somebody wants to put a judgment on what I do. So okay, so what I'm trying to say is I still end up at the traffic light and I still
Yeah.
feel that anger that I felt and I judge it,
Yeah.
even if I recognize I'm not it.
Yeah.
There's still that thing that wants to give it a
A
value.
value judgment.
It's good or bad.
Yeah.
Like I didn't do this thing. This whatever we call Justin, that thing did this thing, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
But who am I? Like, and I think that's kind of the problem is, so what does the average person do on a daily basis with the stuff they don't like?
Yeah.
So they've
Act accordingly. Well, I mean, there's so phrase jump in anytime you want. I think an answer to that is act accordingly. So, like the truth, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Just knowing that I'm not these decision patterns that I don't like I have these unhealthy decision patterns. It doesn't get me off the hook from working on it. I still need to work on it because I'm still in this world. Like I still have this life to live. So I still need to improve myself. But just the knowledge that if I can take some of that value judgment even on myself off, be like, oh dude, you were raised by a single dishwashing mom and a felon dad who is a womanizer and an addict. Like you have a predisposition to be a little rascal sometimes. You don't have to beat yourself up about it. Like actually you don't have a choice in anything that you do. I don't think. I think free will is an illusion and you don't have a choice in anything. So maybe don't beat yourself up so much about it. You're still not off the hook. You still have this life to live, and let's make some progress. But I'm gonna smoke sometimes, and that doesn't make me a piece of shit. It doesn't make me the filth, a sinful wretch. I don't want to smoke all the time, but sometimes I just like the way a cigarette tastes, and I can stop beating myself up about it. Just the knowledge, the truth shall set you free. Just acknowledging these things brings some level of ease, some level of release. That's the peace that passes all understanding. If you wanna lay in that and dive into it and just live in that peace of like God is with me no matter what. And God literally is in everything that I do. And even if I die, even if the whole world explodes and the worst thing happens, I know that stuff wasn't really me anyway. So I'm not going to go anywhere. If there is any me, it was around before this body and it's going to be around afterwards. And I don't I'm not afraid of what happened to me before I came in this body, so there's no reason for me to be afraid of what happens after I'm in this body. Because if there is something besides this body, it's been around forever. And it's going to be around forever. And I think it keeps coming back. I think it's like a video game or like a fun little treat. Like, let's go play it this time. But maybe that's getting too far out there.
I mean, that's that sounds pretty good to me. I mean, I think that's probably as close to accurate as anything I can come up with.
Frage, did we scare you off? Or are you never coming back? You're like,
No. No, there's just so many different directions this could go.
It can literally go anywhere. It can go
Wow.
through
It's
the
interesting
universe.
what you just said because I heard somewhere
I'm
like,
hearing you. I'm gonna go fill up my coffee.
matter you can't take away or add any matter, right? Like the matter that exists currently is the same amount of matter that's going to exist forever and has existed forever. So upon a human death, the matter that makes you you goes somewhere. And it sounds like the idea that you just stated aligns with like that matter re-entering somehow into another body and that life perpetuating itself.
Is that so? I've heard that probably. I mean, for as long as I can remember, that energy doesn't dissipate; it just
Yeah.
it gets reallocated. Is that actually true to the best of your knowledge? Like, because
I don't
you're a smart guy,
I don't know that I have any evidence that supports otherwise, but
and so go ahead.
I think that's where I just find peace in knowing like I don't know how it works. And if that's how this world is designed or created or how it operates, and the matter or energy that is quote unquote life perpetuates itself, that then it just is. I don't have an opinion on it, and I don't know that me having an understanding of it proves my own personal life, but I'm on board with the idea.
Well, I think that like if we're I don't know, driving over a massive bridge. Like think about I'm picturing the bridge that goes between Philadelphia and New Jersey where my in-laws live. Like it's a massive structure, right? There are people in this world that understand how bridges work and they understand how to make this bridge withstand a certain amount of weight, and like they understand the intricacies of it, and they'd better, like they need to. I don't need to understand how it works. I just need to understand how to drive over it, right?
Yeah.
And like I think that that's kind of true with theology and with all of the stuff we're talking about. There are some people that just they don't they don't care, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And there are some people that maybe they think they know, and I try to build a bridge, and I'm like, you should not be building that bridge. Like you don't have any business coming up with this. But like there are people that are close to me that they just don't give thought to these things, and that's okay. Like they're not
Yeah.
supposed to. They give thought
Yeah.
to other things.
And
I
I
think
wouldn't say I don't give any thought to it. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
uh I've gone back and forth on this idea, and I still probably will, which is good, right? Your mind should change about things. That's how you're growing and evolving. But I think you. Sorry, I just got the super high ringing. I'm just gonna have to edit this out. What were we just talking about? I
I
just
have a hot
derailed the
take.
whole thing.
Maybe the older I
Oh my
get,
God.
the harder it is for me to want to place a stake in any sort of position or stance. Like maybe that is open-mindedness, but maybe I just feel like the older I get, the less I feel like, yeah, I've got it figured out. I think the older I get, the more I feel like I don't really know, but it's okay, And
Yeah.
I think the older I get, I question why a lot more about everything. I mean, it's not just existential questions or religious questions. It's just why should I feel compelled to do this thing? And I think that there's some people who have really hard stances that say, "Oh, well, you just need to do this, or you should do this, or you should think this way." And I just feel like the older I get, the less I am convinced that if someone tells me to do something, that that's what I really need to do. And I just like analyzing it and thinking through, like, I don't know, maybe that is how the world works, or maybe that is how life works, or could be, and maybe that's my response. I don't know.
Yeah, if you don't need religion, you don't need it. The I think the main purpose that today it gives is answering anxiety or addressing anxiety. So the
Mm,
anxiety of what happens, either the anxiety of is someone in control of this life? Is there the big guiding hand in my life? Um, what happens after I die? Is it, can I pray this pain away? Can I pray this bad habit away? Can I pray for protection on a road trip? Like all of these things really come, I think, are a version of anxiety, of almost like a fear.
ooh, yeah.
And the answer to all of these anxieties or fear, really the answer to everything, brother, is God. But you can take God out of this little Western evangelical box
Mm-hmm.
and put him into not only the master of the universe, but the universe and all things ever and all things that ever will be.
Yeah.
And to where, yeah, the answer, if you don't have this fear, if you don't have this need of religion, that's fine. If you don't have this need of theology, but if you have an anxiety of what happens after I die, is anyone in control? Do I have this or that? The answer is God. God can be there if you have those anxieties. If not, proceed, live long and prosper.
I would say I don't have those anxieties. And I'm not discrediting those avenues to deal with that anxiety either. I mean,
No.
I have no rejection to any of it. And I think that any time an idea is presented, I just kind of, you think about it and you say, yeah, that could be like, y-
What do you think
you say
happens
like,
after you die?
I don't know.
What do
It
you
could be a
think?
lot of different things. I don't
Like
know.
what? Well, let me ask you this, and
Um,
I'm not trying to paint you into any corner, and I'm not trying to play I got you, and I'm definitely not trying to disrespect you at all. For it,
it's okay. I was hoping this was kind of where this conversation was going to go because this is really interesting. I love exploring this stuff.
do you consider yourself a Christian?
Ooh,
What are your ideas about God?
I feel like in my current mindset, I lean more towards a universalist perspective.
What does that
That
mean?
God is everywhere in everything, that there is some sort of connected energy between all bits of matter.
Okay. Um, what do you think happens when you die?
I don't have it figured out.
That's fine. Um, do you think this energy that connects you as like an active part in your life?
Mm. Yes.
Do you think this energy that connects you has an idea of rules like right and wrong, yeses and nos? You can
Oh,
do this, you shouldn't do that. And if it does, what are the purpose of these rules? Is it to keep you out of some reward afterwards? Is
oh
it to make
man.
this life better? It is this thing good? Is this energy that
Oh,
connects you, is it all things good, or what is it? If you had to put a value
interesting.
judgment on it.
I mean, in my mind, I guess I lean more towards good, but I like to think more neutral.
Like more, when you say more neutral, the idea I have is more nuanced. Is that what you mean, or is it something else? Like it more good is almost like a baby way of thinking about it,
Eh,
a simplistic way of thinking about it. Is
Well,
that what
you
you
said
think?
is it good or bad? I don't know
Yeah.
that it's either. I don't. That's what I
Okay.
mean by neutral. I
What
just
what what would you ask to like differentiate? Like maybe it doesn't even have a personality, so it can't be good or bad. And like you would say, is
Seems like it
this
has a sense of humor.
well? What if you said that the characteristics of this uh, river are that it's constant, it's consistent, it's unpredictable. Maybe it is predictable. Whatever you could say that this river or this thing has these personality traits, and it's good or it's bad depending on where like what happens at the end of the river. Like if it floods your town, then it's bad. If it provides water for your town, then it's good. Could like you know what I'm saying? Like could God be above even good or bad? Like it's does he have a personality that he
Well, you're throwing a lot of he's on this
I
God
know, yeah,
person.
yeah. It
well,
could it like does it even have a person like you know what I'm saying? Like personality I don't think is the right question. So what
and
question
is
do
it
you
a
ask?
god?
Huh?
If the questions you were asking me,
Yeah.
is it a god? Is that where the word? I mean, is that where I apply
Oh
that
no, we're
label?
using this. Well, let's use connective energy. This energy that connects all
I don't know
things.
what to call it. I don't have it figured out. I'm
That's
just,
a good thing to
yeah,
call it. That's what you called
yeah,
it, and that's a good thing to call it. This
yeah. I was just
energy that
trying to
connects all
describe
things.
it, Yeah, but I mean,
Some
is,
theological traditions call it the way, which is
yeah,
what you're
yeah.
talking about. The universe. Okay, so you don't think you don't. So there's an energy that connects us. You don't know what happens when we die. You don't know if this thing is good or bad, or just might maybe neutral. Um, do you think that this thing has a mission for you to do in life? Like, does this thing given you do you do you have a purpose from this thing? Do you have a
I
purpose
don't know
from this
because the
thing?
way when you say
And I
this
think you
thing,
do.
when you say this thing, it sounds personified in a way,
Yeah, sure.
like it's its own
Can you have a
singular
relationship
being,
with this thing?
and that's what I don't know. I don't know that it's its own separate being because I think that would take away from the connectedness that between all matter and all people, and I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I guess I'd be questioning, like, is it's its own intelligent entity? I don't know.
Well, do you think this thing created like this thing that we're talking about, this energy, do you think that it created, or did it have a part in creation? Or was it like, does it just happen to be
I
around
don't
and
know.
creation
What
happened?
if what if it's not its own thing and we are all equally a part of it?
Well, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I think that's too complicated to get to, don't you? Well, like
I
I
don't
get
know.
what you're saying, but you can't do anything with that. You have to, at least I can't do anything with that because I agree. I think we all are all part of it, but what does that mean?
I don't know.
Well, so there is some things, there is some meaning to be had if there's probably some, there absolutely is some meaning to be had with just that we all are all part of it. But I think there's more meaning to be had if like you break that down into what is that, into what could that mean? So like Ram Dass talks about this and lots of other traditions talk about this. Even the Bible says this in some weird ways if you want to look at it. But like everyone that you pass on the street could be an angel of God. Be careful. Treat everyone like you could be treating. And the angel of God that they used in the Old Testament was Elohim, which is really just a child of God. It was one of the names of God. Everyone you pass on the street could be God. And some traditions say everyone you pass on the street is God. So how you treat the world is how you treat the God, especially if, like what you say, and I agree, and I think the Bible even says this in different ways, is that we are all part of it. We are all part of this energy that connects us all. So how you treat, man, how you treat your wife and your kids, and really how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself and the conversations you have with yourself, those are the conversations that you're having with God. So that's some meaning, just in that view that you have. I'm not trying to impose on you. I'm just trying to give you a way to look at it of like what you say. And I think that's a pretty acceptable thing to say is like there is a connective energy across everything. And it's pretty easy to say that we are a part of it. If that's true, and it's pretty easy to understand, then how you treat everything and everyone around you, and including how you treat yourself, is how you treat God. So if you believe that and just follow that and like make a tradition, like even just make a thing to tell yourself every day, just yourself, not for you to go spread the gospel, but like, hey, Frage, everyone here is God, and you're God too. So be nice to yourself. Give yourself some compassion. And none of these people know it. None of these people have it all figured out. Like, so don't hold it against them if they don't. If they're not acting like God, don't hold it against them.
Sure.
And maybe there's a lesson. God's teaching you a lesson with this lady who's doing her makeup at the stoplight and texting and cussing you out and being just a filthy, disgusting human being. That's also God giving you a lesson. And maybe look into that. And what does God tell him? Oh, what is God telling me with this meth head that's lying to me about everything? Or, whatever the situation is. Could also be God
I'm
giving you something.
I'm trying to think of an analogy of the way that I've been feeling about it, because it's, to me, I feel like lately I don't picture God as being this uh separate, intelligent, like old man with a white beard in the sky. Um, I guess an analogy that I would use is like think of like a human body and how a human body has all of these cells, right? Billions or trillions of cells. And so like each cell is part of that body in the same way that like each human would be part of quote unquote this God. And so there's God in all of these cells, and they all grow and die and come back, and some of them are good cells, some of them are bad cancerous cells or whatever, but it's this constant flow in and out of life, I guess is how I'd word that. And when I think of that like on a human level, I think maybe that there's some energy plane that maybe
Wait a second.
that we can't
Wait.
see.
You think that there could be like cells of this God, right? So that you're saying that like we're all we could be like the fingernails and the whiskers
Yeah,
or
there's
whatever.
brain cells and heart cells and
of
Yeah.
this thing that makes up God, right?
And those
Is what
would
you're
give us
saying.
our purpose. Yeah.
And you think there can be like cancerous versions of that? What do you mean? Where does the bad
Yeah,
come
like
from?
some cells are bad.
Where does the bad come from then?
I don't know. Does it have to come from somewhere?
Yeah, actually it does.
I don't know.
Doesn't everything?
I don't know.
Well,
Is that the origination of good and evil? I don't know I don't know the source.
yeah. So
I'm
what
just saying
I'm
it
getting,
is. I'm just saying I'm part of this thing where there's good people and bad people, and there's life and death, and there's cells
yeah,
that serve a different purpose. I don't know. I don't know where it stems from. I'm just saying that I like this idea of we are, as humans, kind of all in this system and connected in a way that we don't try to realize. And I think maybe that's where the universalist perspective comes in, where it's like we have all of these religions that try to answer that, or answer that anxiety, or try to put some sort of clothes on it to make it make better sense for us. And I think, Justin, you said it earlier, it's like depending on where you find your answers, there's a common thread through all of it. And I think that's kind of where my mind was kind of going.
yeah.
I'm not saying I'm right at all. I know I'm not right.
I'm saying you are. You are at least in the ways that, yeah. I mean, like I say, you're the star of your show. I mean, it all comes down to how when I say you, I mean the person hearing this or the person saying it even. It all comes down to how you interact with the universe. Like your place in, if there is a point of life, if there is a mission, it's about how you play the game, baby. That's the game, is playing it. How you go through this life. Because like if you want to break it down, the reincarnation thing, or the we've been around, the immortality of the soul, is almost like a video game. Well, I think it is a video game, and that could even be like an Easter egg. But you have this mission. Whatever the mission is really just to play the game. You're just playing a game, and
Yeah.
you could die and come back as another character. You can stop playing the game for a while if you want to. You can go off and take a break, and you can find it 20 years later in your attic, like Atari, holy cow, and plug it back in and go in for another one. I think the point, if there is a point, it's just to ride this baby out and to be good. Like what, and figure out what that means. Figure out what that means
Sure.
to be good. I think it's the virtues, but it could be the fruits of the spirit is another way to think about it. Could be balance, like living in yin and yang. It could be your harmony. You know what I mean? You
And there's
could,
probably truth in all of those different ideas.
well, I
Yeah.
think they're all saying the same thing,
Yeah.
but the mission is just to play the game, baby.
Yeah.
And yeah, if there is a point, it's to play the game and to be good. That's the game, is to be good at it.
I think that's kind of where my head has been. Like, yeah.
So with that all being said, Clayton, you asked earlier, what did everybody get for Christmas? What did everybody get? What'd you get?
Man, I got a couple good ones. I got this Carhartt stocking
Oh,
cap,
nice. Okay.
a little watch cap. I got a gun belt that I'm only gonna wear at the range, or if like the end of the world happens, I'll be ready. But I have a gun belt that I'm gonna be
So
doing some training with.
like a duty belt?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
What
But like
what's
a nicer.
what would a civilian application of a duty belt be? Like, do people wear them?
I would say there's value in learning it because it is a very effective. The military has versions, they call them, but they're gun belts, like duty belts or war belts or whatever. But the military has versions of them, and it's very practical. If you find yourself like in the end of the world or in a combat zone, a gun belt is very, very practical because it's
But
easy.
that's what it would be sold for, is like for a prepper scenario.
Boom.
It's like were you one of those jail deputies that, and I'm not criticizing them, even though it sounds like
you are.
it's-
You are
it's-
passing judgment.
it's
Go
gonna
ahead.
sound like I'm making fun of them. But were you one of those
You are.
detention deputies that wore a duty belt with everything but the gun?
No.
No.
No, I had
Or like,
two sets of cuffs and my cuff keychain and my
What about-
radio pouch.
what about the ones that
Sometimes.
wore a duty belt with nothing except the glove holder?
Those aren't my favorites. My favorites are the ones who didn't wear a duty belt and just like had the radio in the pocket with a long stretched
Oh
dangly cord going up to their collar.
yeah. Okay, so you got the duty belt, you got the
Watch
hockey
cap.
cap.
I got some tees. I requested some specific tees. I was like, hey, I need some tees for work. I'd like some baseball tees, three-quarter
Yeah.
sleeves.
Okay.
Gildan, is it Gildan or Gildan brand t-shirts? I like the collar. I got a bunch of them. Got some grill. I'm looking at them going down the list. I got some grill accessories, some like scrubbers and scrapers and tongs and whatnots.
Yeah.
And that's about it. That's about it. But I told people not to get me stuff. And I got nope, that's about it. Oh, some exercise bands. Yeah, not much.
Nice. Fraser, did you do any Christmas this year?
I did not. I didn't get anything. For a long time, my family hasn't been big on gifts for Christmas, and if we are in town, we just get together and spend time together. I mean, the
That
kids
sounds like
get
some
gifts.
religious trauma.
They're Seventh-day
Yeah.
Adventists.
Yeah, the kids get gifts, but the adults haven't for a long time.
There's no joy in your life. There's no passion.
Honestly, dude, that sounds so stress-free.
That's
That's-
that's the
that-
goal. I mean, holidays stress me out, man. Like the pressure of buying people gifts. I don't know what it is, but like I feel like backed in a corner. Like I don't know what to get this person.
Yeah.
I just want to spend time and eat some good food and hang out.
And honestly, think about like especially with your family. Like at the end of the day, you're just trading money anyway. So you really just like if you get somebody a gift, what you're just trying to communicate that you love them or that like
Yeah.
they're special to you.
Oh, my wife
but I
got
don't
me
want
two
them knowing
tarot
that.
decks.
Nice. Yeah, you might want to get those out of the house, unless you're asking for a haunting.
They're on my altar.
Should I get you a Ouija board as well?
Do they come with any
I already
juju?
have one. I put the juju on it. A, that's racist. B, I put it on it.
My sister got some tarot cards yesterday too, and I need to talk to her about her soul because of that.
This is a cloth that I lay down on the table whenever I lay my tarot cards on. And this is
Hold on,
yeah.
have you been doing this for a while?
Dude, I just got the tarot cards yesterday, but I've been doing magic if that's what you're asking. And yeah, dude, I ain't ashamed
You're talking Magic the Gathering?
Nah, dude.
Fucking
I'm talking
no.
about talking to your ancestors kind of magic.
Oh, okay.
But,
So when you say you lay them down on, you made it sound like you've been doing tarot cards for a while.
I know how to do it, dude. I'm spiritual as fuck. I was probably a shaman in my last life.
So, but okay, so when you indicate that this is how you do it, you're saying like for the past 8 hours, this is how you've been doing it.
You think I haven't been researching YouTube videos about this for months,
asking.
homie?
I'm
You don't
just
think
asking.
this is a part of my life?
I'm just
Yeah.
asking.
You don't think
How long
You don't
have you
think
been-
I got an altar set up to my mom and dad and my grandma, and I light a candle and talk to them, and I ask them for
Let me
favors?
ask you this: how do you play tarot?
Okay, this is how I do it. I don't think there is a way to do it. First thing I do, so before I took it out of the plastic, and this is fun, right? This is just fun, and I think there's something to it. I do
Dude,
think this is real.
I hope so bad that a picture falls off your wall.
This is fun.
I hope something cool happens.
I
This
want to
is
hear
fun.
about the juju that he applied.
This is all the juju. The juju comes from the intention and energy that you put onto it, and you do that through ritual. Ritual is the key to unlocking the juju. And I think that's for real. Like I think for real, ritual is the way to tap into your powers, is through ritual.
Is juju something that like is specific to tarot cards? Do I need to know?
No, I was just using the words that he's using.
Okay.
I just think it's a funny word.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well, you know what's funny is that is a term that's connected with the occult and with Kabbalah. And so like the Jewish mystics that were the magicians.
Like an
Anyway,
official word?
yeah, juju. Put the juju on it.
Wow.
Yeah. Is a term that's
Oh,
connected with.
I've always heard it, like, oh, that's got bad juju in it, or like,
Yeah, for real.
yeah,
Something
I
that
don't
you
know.
should know about
I
my
was just
friend
joking.
Clayton is he's
No,
really
it's
smart.
good. So I pray the Lord's Prayer and say any bad energy, any bad juju. I don't say juju, but anything bad on this, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Right? I'm going through the, and you're supposed to use a tradition or learn a tradition. Luckily for me, I got a good tradition, baby. That's washing the blood, Pentecostal Church of God. So I use all my Pentecostal Church of God tools on this.
Okay.
I rebuke any bad energy, any demon in the name of Jesus by the blood, and I pray Psalms 23 on it, and I'll pray the Lord's Prayer. This is a cloth that I put down on the table that I lay the cards down. This is a cloth that my mom sent me when I was in Afghanistan, and it has Psalms 91 on it. I'll say Psalms 91 out loud. And before I take the cards out of the box, I'll be like, I want my mom, my ancestors is a general term, right? But like the spirit, the wisdom of my ancestors to speak to me through this. I'll call on, I don't know how cool you are, Frasier. I'll call on Santa Muerta. I'll say, Santa Muerta, I'd like you to give me the truth through this. Cut any deception out of these cards. Cut any lies. Use your Sith to cut any lies. Michael, Archangel, Son of Man, protect me. He was the old chief of the old gods. Chief of the old gods, Michael, protect me. Give me the truth. Yada yada. I'll call on all the things, and then I'll do 3 rows, past, present, and future. Or like if I'm gonna be doing a reading for J-Dub, I'll say, hey, one of the things I'll do is I'll
I'll have
shuffle
no
it.
part. Thank you very much. But go ahead.
No, you will. You're about to get a tarot reading, actually, whether you like it or not. I'll shuffle them, and here, I'll take the cards out. Mom, protect me. God, protect me. No demons.
And me.
And Justin, no demons, only good stuff. Take them
Bring
like
it
this.
on. I'm not scared.
Yeah, there's nothing to be scared of. It's only you. You're the only person at this party. I'll shuffle them
I got
up.
all
All
the
right,
juju.
J-Dub, hold up your hand like this. And just think about your past, present, and future. Imagine your past, present, and future is going out of your hand through the camera onto this. Your whole life and what you want, your wishes, your goals, your ambitions, whatever you want to know, whatever question you got, put that on here. Name of Jesus. Amen. We're done.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to lay out 3 rows. It's going to be on this paper, but I'm going to put my cloth down on it that my mama protects, and so does God through Psalms 91. And I'm going to lay it down. These are your first past cards. You're going to get 3 cards, and this is your past.
Okay.
The Hierophant. I don't know what this is. I'm learning. I'm going to go to my book. Okay, we're going to go on to the next card. The Hierophant looks, and it's also about like, what does it look like and feel like? Looks like a queen.
Can you show us a close up?
So it looks like someone holding a cross, like a bishop almost, and like 2 priests
Okay.
down at the bottom, like a spiritual leader is what it looks like.
Okay.
You can get that from there, right?
How many
78 cards.
and they're all so is that each deck gonna have different characters?
Each card has different characters. The decks all have the same.
Okay.
Next past card. Justice.
Yes.
So you were religious and you sought justice in your past. Okay. Oh, this is upside down. Oh, this is actually good. So it's upside down, which makes it the opposite, but it's the 5 of Pentacles. Pentacles is actually a blessing in the tarot deck.
Okay.
So it
So I
means
get
like,
the opposite of that?
well, I'm going to lay this out for you. It means wealth and prosperity. Pentacles do. But the 5, specifically the 5, I was going through this last night, doing some readings, as I do. The 5 of
Hey
Pentacles.
Cash, get over here. Let's read your future.
Yep. is a curse. The Five of Pentacles is a curse. It means that like, so actually it being upside down would mean that you overcame some bad, some adversity. So this is your past lineup.
Okay.
You're a religious leader in some sort.
Okay.
You sought justice in some sort,
Okay.
and you overcame some financial adversity in the
Okay.
past
Is
of
is it
some sort.
necessarily financial?
No, it could be anything. What the Pentacles represent is a blessing. And so what I'm getting at is the Five of Pentacles is actually a curse. But
Okay.
it came
But
upside
it's
down,
upside down. Okay.
which means that you overcame some up an adversity to blessing in the past.
Gotcha.
So that's your past,
Okay.
right? Sounds pretty good. I think that lines up. That checks out. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mom. Now, hold your
Okay.
judgment.
Yeah, and it's
Hold your
not a
judgment.
judgment. It's not a judgment. It's just a
I'm
thought.
I'm telling you what's going on here.
that
Present.
sounds like something I said when I was a cop.
Yeah. Present. The Five of Wands. That means turmoil and confusion. Wands is kind of like a neutral symbol. It's like a mystical thing, but it can very much be a curse or a blessing. Wands are. And the five of them, I don't know if you see that. It's five guys hitting each other with these wands. So what it represents is confusion or
Okay.
a problem. This is your present one.
Okay.
Confused and in turmoil. And I haven't shuffled, I haven't been moving these around. The Two of Wands. So this a guy holding a globe, holding a wand. So this guy is contemplating the entire earth and holding this spiritual or this like spiritual symbol, the wand. Big contemplation, big thoughts. You're thinking about you're thinking about lots of big, deep, heavy things.
What's that wand on its own? What's the significance of the two?
It could be he has one in control and the other one's out of his control. And it's behind his back.
Are these
So maybe it's about what it means to you whenever you see it.
Oh, okay. So like the person doing the reading or the person being
Both.
read to?
And so one of the things is like, what does that mean to you?
Okay.
What does it mean to you for present, thinking about like what's going on right now? Let me lay down the next one before you give me your thoughts.
Well, I want to ask a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's important, or it would be important, that if your person that you're going to is just a douchebag and
Yeah.
they see everything as, well, this means that you're
Yeah.
a piece of crap and this means that you're whatever. Or if you go to somebody that's super thoughtful, they might be like, yeah, but does that mean that which one is true? Like,
Well, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but it's really so the idea of it is, right? To dissect the juju is that like you're calling on good vibrations. You're calling on the good parts of the universe. I'm calling on my dead mom. I'm calling on my ancestors. I'm calling on the Archangel Michael. I'm calling on Santa Muerta, who's another deity that I like. I'm calling on all things good, the good universe, to give me the truth. Give me the truth about this. You know my past. You know my present. I think you know the future. Tell me about these things that I'm asking about. And so it's all about your intentions and what you feel. It's all about how you interpret what that to mean.
Okay.
So like in the New Testament, the disciples cast lots to see who would get what was it? After Jesus died, they cast lots to see. Oh no, who would be the new disciple?
Yeah, so they did that. Who would be the new apostle? And then the soldiers cast lots for his clothes.
Yeah. That is like casting lots is like throwing dice, throwing dominoes. That's an ancient version of tarot. It's asking the divine for an answer.
Okay. So what's my last one? Or no,
Present. Lovers.
Oh. Okay.
And what's good about this is obviously Adam and Eve, so they're not perfect, but they're destined for each other, and there's a divine there's a divine oversight over this. So your present is internal conflict, deep thoughts, and maybe fears and anxiety and your wife or lovers. What that
Okay.
means. That's present. Yeah, your past, present. Last one's future. First future card. Oh, the Three of Wands upside down. So, like I said, wands can be, it's kind of neutral, but they're kind of ominous. And so this guy looks like a Caesar or like some type of ruler holding the wands. Maybe the source or the king of that confusion being overturned or being upside down. The source of that confusion being overturned. That's one. Judgment. It came upside down. I don't know what upside down judgment means. Maybe you're being free of judgment, or maybe you're overcoming judgment, it could be, or maybe you're trampled under judgment.
I'm exonerated.
Exonerated. Last card.
Like Snoop Dogg and Tupac.
Oh, the Four of Wands. This is a blessing. The Four of Wands, it's a man and a wife, or a man and a lady underneath these wands, like a celebration. Like you living in harmony. Living in harmony with those wands around still. So like you're not abandoning the magic of the wands, but you're living in harmony with it.
Now, so then when you get done, you'll shuffle all these up?
Yeah. Shuffle them up and move on to the next. Move on to the next reading. 78 cards, so that's those possibilities.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never seen that done before, and certainly never participated in it because
Well, I prayed to Jesus and I asked the living God to sanctify these. If there's any devil in this, I ask the same Jesus that you pray to, I ask him to get the devil out of these and for him to talk to me in this. Jesus, the same Jesus that you pray to, use the Holy Ghost to speak through to me in this, which is, by the way, biblical. There's
in that
plenty
case, in that case, tarot on.
of tarot on, my brother. But anyway, that's my favorite gift. That's probably my favorite gift, those box of cards.
Yeah, that's cool. I think my favorite gift is I'm not able to use it yet, but I'm going to. It's my wife got me a mixer for
A
the
grinder?
podcast. No, for the
Oh.
podcast. Like, I think you've still got one. I think you've got one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Make my voice sound a little bit better. So I'm excited about that. I got a heated ice scraper from my mom. It's got like so you plug it into the cigarette lighter, and then it's got like just a piece of metal, that gets, I assume it's going to get glowing red hot, and you just
Jab it on your skin.
cut over the cut over the ice, and it's just like going through butter. So
Okay.
got that. What else? It was a good Christmas, all in all, and I feel like I got my wife some good gifts. I'm happy with it.
Nice. Frasier. Oh, you don't do gifts. What the hell? Judgment.
Stress free.
No, okay. Okay. 2.5 hours in, or 2 hours and 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna my family is up and stirring. They're all up and about. I got a busy day today. But I don't have to get off right now. Is there anything else we want to explore?
Hmm. Well, we can edit this part out.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you know anything about financial corruption or conspiracy theories? Frasier? Because we do.
We know lots of stuff.
Well, would it surprise you if I were to tell you that at one point the U.S. government operated inside the United States and unknowingly dosed American citizens with syphilis?
Oh.
Would that be believable?
Unknowingly?
The people were unknowingly dosed,
Oh.
but the U.S. government knowingly gave a group of black people in Tuskegee, Alabama, syphilis. What would your thoughts be about that?
I'm,
let me just
I,
let me just throw this out here, and I'm sorry to interrupt. Uh, so again, I keep thinking that I know what you're going to say, and I thought you were going to say, would it surprise you that our country dosed unknown men with LSD?
Yeah.
Because I wanted
Oh,
to
I
be
was
like,
gonna get there.
so when you were saying dosed unknowingly, I wanted to be like me. I want
I,
that,
wa-
but then you
I,
say
wa-
syphilis, and I'm like,
I
I'm
don't want
glad
that one.
that's not the one I wanted. So I'm glad I waited for door number 2. Anyway, go ahead.
or
I'm
at
not.
least the squeakiest clean version of this. So this actually happened, and the most generous light to cast the government in is they knew that these people were getting syphilis was not in this community, and it came out of nowhere. There wasn't in any communities around it, but all of a sudden syphilis was introduced in this community. The CIA told doctors to that they knew syphilis was there somehow the CIA knew, and they told the doctors to not treat it and to not inform them. And that was the Tuskegee experiments, because they wanted to see what syphilis was going to do in this community. And one of the things it ended up doing was removing a lot of fathers from homes and causing this generational trauma of
Mm,
fatherlessness in these homes in this community. And I'm not saying the fathers obviously did the cheating to get the syphilis, but it ended up killing those fathers and removing them from the homes. So it created generations of fatherless households.
mm.
And so you would say that in that community, they weren't doing anything that other communities weren't doing. It's just this STD was introduced into this specific community.
Was somehow introduced into this specific community, and the doctors knew about it and specifically did not treat it. And the patients were not informed that they had it because they wanted to see the results of syphilis in this community.
Hmm.
What are your feelings when I tell you that, Frage?
It doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't surprise
I
you?
mean, I'm not familiar with that specifically, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff that the government's done that's similar to that. And that,
Yeah. So you
like,
think the
like my
government's just
initial feeling is like, of course they did. Yeah.
yeah. Man, well then if that doesn't shock you, I guess it doesn't shock me, but it makes me sad and it makes me want to be surprised and be like, what the hell? They did that? Because I feel like most people don't know about that. And most people wouldn't believe that. I would say. Most people that I'd tell that to, like if I tried to explain that to maybe not my in-laws but like a cousin at Christmas, they'd be like, "Oh, okay, Clayton."
You
You
think most
know,
people feel like the government's innocent?
Yeah, if anything, they are just very bad at their job. I think most people think the government is just bad at their job.
Mm.
Like no one thinks the government's knocking it out of the park right now. No one thinks
yeah.
the government's good. The most generous view is that they're just bad at their
When
job.
was peak government affinity? Like, at what point in history did most people agree that the government's doing a great job?
I don't know. I don't know when you could say point to a time when they were doing really good, but I know you can point to a time when they're doing really bad, like worse
Right, that's what
than
I mean. Like, I feel like historically that's always been the view of the government, right? Is that
like you guys aren't good, but you certainly are bad.
yeah, has there ever been a time when like the US government has had the I don't know, like a positive feeling from
Yep.
citizens?
July 2003 when we invaded Iraq. We all know that was good, right? That was for positive. No?
I mean, there are times when we think that our government is, protecting us more than others, or like there's a unity after 9/11.
Yeah.
There's a unity after maybe the initial uh, desert storm. There's times when I think that we would say that the government's doing better, but in terms of like whether the government's knocking it out of the park, yeah, I don't think anybody would ever
Yeah,
suggest that.
Mm.
yeah.
But so I don't think that I think the average person would find it really hard to believe that the government would do things like that intentionally.
Yeah.
And people at least from my walk of life, would
would be hesitant to believe what you're saying specific to specific to the African American community, because now I start thinking about politics, and now I start thinking about, oh, okay, wait a second, what are they trying? And I mean, just within the past couple of years, I've started recognizing that no, the government did do that, and the
Yeah.
government did that to specific communities.
You said before that you didn't know that Jim Crow laws were real. You didn't
Dude,
think, you thought it was just liberal propaganda.
propaganda. I mean, that's what we talked about it in the last episode, I think, about how in certain politics or religions or whatever, you can't acknowledge things, because if you do, then that means you lose ground over in this argument, or you lose power in this, this area of politics,
Yeah,
or whatever
there were
area of
still
control.
there were still red line laws. So like one of the versions of Jim Crow laws was this thing called a red line law. It was actually invented here in Atlanta, and it was post Civil War. So like during the Reconstruction era after the Civil War is when a lot of these laws came in. And the red line law was that only white people are allowed to live in this red line on the map. And so obviously that's racist, and it seems like far-fetched. Like those things didn't exist. And if they did, it was from a bygone era that doesn't apply to today. Those laws were on the books until the early 2000s. Like, of course, no one enforced them, and there were people living there. You know what I mean? We weren't cavemen still, but those laws were still officially on the books, just like Kansas's old sodomy laws.
Yeah.
The sodomy statute was an anti-homosexual statute until they changed it to keep it around. But the original, and even kind of, well, anyway, but the sodomy statutes were just anti-homosexual statutes.
There was a covenant and restriction, I think it was in Cowley County recently, that still said that colored people couldn't live in a certain.
There's a town in Sedgwick County that got in trouble for it not too long ago.
Really?
Well, years ago, but yeah, like in people's memories that they told me about it.
Yeah.
Out west, I can't say. I definitely don't want to say the name, but one of the towns out west had like a law like no non-white people in their town, and
Yeah.
to the point where someone came for like a 4th of July celebration, and it was talked about. At least that law was discussed. Like, holy
Yeah.
shit.
That's wild to think that it wasn't lifetimes ago.
Yeah.
No, it was your parents' lifetime.
Yeah, it was
Maybe within
actually
years.
you when you were a kid, when you were
Yeah.
actually just slightly younger. But
Yeah,
it
you
doesn't
just
affect us because we look like this, and it would never even be on our radar. But if it's your parents were kicked out of a town, then it definitely affects you. And if your grandparents were physically assaulted in a town, then it definitely affects. And if their grandparents were enslaved, then it
Mhm.
affects you a lot differently than it does folks who look like us on this Zoom call. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then the way you think is different than mine.
So the universe
You
has
got a
grown
different
those people.
perspective.
Yeah, their brain is wired in a way that it's impossible for mine to actually understand.
But in a way that's right for them.
Yeah.
Based on the
Right or
information
wrong.
they had.
Yeah, whether it's right or the wrong, they are what the universe made. I
Right.
am what the universe
We
made.
are
Right.
we are what the universe made.
And I didn't have a choice in it. I didn't have a choice in what the universe did. I had the illusion of choice, but it was really based off of earlier imprints that were out of my control. The choice that I make right now of to go left or right, I have this illusion of free will, but really it's all based on decision making that was put on me forever. All right. Is that a good place to end it?
There was something else.
Our idea of God isn't real and there's no free will.
It is a good place, but there was
Merry
another
Christmas.
there's another example of whether it's real or just something in your mind doesn't matter, and it had to do with I don't remember. Like it had to
Drugs.
do with some other stuff we were talking about that I wanted to touch on, but I forgot.
Well, eventually, so like, I mean, we can definitely talk about this again, but like, the idea of heaven or hell, the different dimensions. I think the idea of even time traveling, uh, the experience of it being induced by a pill or a chemical versus the experience of if I built a time machine in my garage, the experience is the same.
Right.
And yeah,
Right. Because the experience is the thing.
yeah. If I traveled to heaven by meditating or whatever and going to a different dimension that's beyond all understanding, if I do that actually, or take a DMT pill and experience that, the experience is the exact same. Like what my brain understands that happened will be the same.
And so there's no difference in somebody saying, well, but one's real.
Yeah. The
No,
experience.
because they're both experiences. And so one would make, and so I guess you would have to say, well, real is what's physical. It's only real if it's physical. But even that is experience.
We know that's not
and
true. Yeah.
And it's different. You're going to experience something physical that's real different than I'm going to experience. It's different.
Yeah.
So
Unless you don't do Christmas gifts, then there really isn't a point.
there is no, what experience are you
The
having?
experience is hell. Like, oh, my life doesn't have Christmas.
Whether you end up at heaven or hell, you will always be there. Right.
I think
Yeah.
it's subjective. Maybe that somebody's heaven, you know?
Nope.
No.
Nope. I've made a judgment call on this.
The devil's heaven, maybe. All right. Well, this is a good time. I want to go eat a cinnamon roll.
Justin Frasier, join us again sometime. Open
Okay,
invitation.
sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Just for the record, since he's in California, our start time was 4 a.m. for Homeboy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I thought about pushing it down a little bit, but I seen the conversation that happened after my phone was on silent. Like, do we
Yeah.
have to be 4? And you were like, I don't know, Clayton. What do you think? I didn't respond. So you're like, I guess 4 it is. I
Yeah,
wanted
I didn't
this.
mind. I just had to come out to the car because I'm staying at, my friend's distant family's house. And there's a
battery's
bunch
dead
of people
now.
over here. So
yeah,
What is
I
your-
mean, it just sucks to have to get up that early, but I appreciate you doing it.
I don't care. I'm an early riser anyways.
Good. I think there's something to being a morning person. I'm a morning person.
Yeah. Yeah, you got the whole day in front of you.
The world's
Life
your
hasn't
oyster,
hit you with-
baby.
Yeah, life hasn't hit you with chaos and distraction yet, and like you truly are in control of like the things that you do in the morning.
Yeah. Get
just
high,
wanna-
listen to AC/DC, and dance around. That's your choice that you have for the morning.
I just want to go take
You
a
do
nap.
it on Tuesdays too? Yeah.
I do it on the days that end in Y.
All right. Well, hey, my brother's going to be on here before too long, so get ready for that.
All right.
All right.
All right,
See you
guys.
guys.
See ya.
See you guys.